So welcome to the Hooked on Health podcast. I'm Dr. Sean Lordan, your host, and with me today is Annie Ripp.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have you. So welcome, Annie. Could you just maybe tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Definitely. So I'm Annie. I'm the founder of Let's Feel Good. I write wellness guides to help people practically implement better for you habits to feel their best today and prevent chronic disease. I've also spent my career in venture capital investing in early stage health and wellness companies. So I do a little bit of both.
That's awesome. So let's start with Let's Feel Good. So what sparked that idea, and how did that connect? Maybe how did you tie that together with your role in venture capital?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've always been super passionate about health and wellness and feeling good. It started when I was in high school, actually. It's a funny story. When I was a senior in high school, I had the option to drop one of my classes and do a project that I came up with. And I created this idea of creating a curriculum for the Boys and Girls Club in Lawrence, Mass, and teaching them how to take the resources that they have. So it's like, where do you grocery shop? What are your options available to you? And how can you make choices that make you feel better? And I'd bring in like sugar cubes and stack them up and show just how many sugar cubes were in a bottle of Coke or a soda. I was always really interested in it. I didn't know how to place it. And then I went to college and I studied biology and economics. I was very interested in kind of the science behind feeling good. And I love genetics and how your environment can essentially like alter your genetics. And then I graduated from school and I went into venture capital. I spent 2 years in private equity. And then from there moved into early stage investing. I spent 4 years, I'm still investing out of a health and wellness focused fund, but I spent the past 4 years at very early stage funds investing in the health and wellness space. And kind of parallel to that, I think starting in high school, even though I was a little too young to recognize it, my interest was driven by, I just didn't feel good. I had hormone issues. I had bloat. I had GI issues. I had skin issues. I had weight I couldn't lose. I felt like I was chronically inflamed, like my rings were tight. Anxiety. I just didn't feel good is the way that I put it. Hence the name of my company now. And it kind of carried throughout college when I graduated and I started listening to Mark Hyman and Huberman and understanding like what real health and wellness was. I think I grew up in the era of fads of ketogenic and paleo and this and that. But I was like, what is the underlying truth? Like, what does feeling good actually mean? And my health I was in high pressure jobs. I was very stressed. I think stress is often the driver of a lot of conditions. And I started going to my doctor. So I'd go to my primary for anxiety and she'd just immediately write me a script for an SSRI. And then I'd go to my, endocrinologist for feeling like I eat healthy. Like, why do I carry this excess weight? She's like, oh, we'll test your thyroid. And she ran my TSH, which is like a kind of a general thyroid metric. And it was 4.5, which is at the very highest end of the range, but it was technically healthy. So she did no further testing, but offered a medication if my symptoms got worse. And my dermatologist was like, here's a steroid for your skin. Here's doxycycline for the breakouts. I was like, well, is this connected to my gut? Or is this connected to my hormones? Is this connected to the anxiety? And I went to like 5 different doctors. I got a prescription from all of them and none of them told me it was related. So I was like, this doesn't feel good to just start taking 5 medications. Like, why do I feel this way? So about 6 years ago, I started exploring functional medicine. I was also investing in the wellness space. So these kind of things were running in tandem. I was self-educating. I got a certification in functional nutrition to educate myself. And I went to my first holistic doctor and he sat me down for like an hour, 2-hour appointment and asked me everything about my life. He was like, how do you eat? What do you do for work? How stressed are you? What are your relationships like? What products do you use in your home? I'm like, how is this related?
Yeah.
And then he gave me a book on really how to live my life through the foods that I eat, removing toxins from my environment. He related everything that I was struggling with to, one very similar root cause, told me how to eat, how to take care of my body. And I essentially like edited my life. I changed the way I order out when I'm out to dinner. I changed the products in my home. I changed my skincare routine to, products that didn't have endocrine disruptors in it. And I didn't take one medication and I ended up reversing an autoimmune disease, PCOS, psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis, anxiety. I lost 30 pounds. I lowered inflammation. I just feel incredible without a medication. And I was healing myself and learning all this and feeling so good and so empowered. And then I was investing in the health and wellness space. And it was really ironic because I was working with so many female founders and men also building health and wellness companies to solve the chronic disease epidemic. And we all know that, our country is so unhealthy and we clearly are, have a pretty critical chronic disease epidemic. But I was sitting there working with these founders who were complaining about insomnia and infertility and anxiety and bloat. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have a chronic disease, but you're on the path to one. And that's when I had the epiphany that I just don't feel good is the biggest leading indicator of chronic disease. And if we don't focus on feeling our best today by like living in a way that supports our health, we go to our doctor and we say, I just don't feel good. I'm anxious. I'm bloated. I have breakouts. You're offered a medication or it's normalized. But when that happens, those are just Band-Aids and the underlying root cause stays intact and it gets worse and turns into a chronic disease. So being in the investment space, 90% of chronic disease is lifestyle driven. 100% of I just don't feel good is lifestyle driven. And if we can fix it at I just don't feel good, we'll never end up with a chronic disease. So that was like the epiphany for Let's Feel Good is I just saw this huge gap in the market. And so many healthy people who don't have a diabetes diagnosis or a cancer diagnosis, but they don't feel great. So that's why I started Let's Feel Good.
It's such a good answer. I think about that first step, right? So you don't feel good. You go to all these doctors. You don't get the answer that you're looking for, right? Because the answer is on the doctor side, I have 15 minutes. I have a solution. It's called an SSRI. I have a solution. It's called, whatever else, whatever other medication. Well, you can go to CVS and take it, and it might solve that symptom, but not the root cause, right? Totally. So I think that's where, and physical therapy is the same thing. You have 10 different, things going on. Where do we start? What's the first step? So what was the first step for you, when you didn't feel great and you got all the answers that you didn't really want, right? Because it's like, you can take this medication, it might work, it might not, but you knew deep down that there was something that could be changed probably from if just you looked at the problem differently.
Yeah.
Which is, and you went to the holistic doctor. So Tell me about that experience and tell me what your first, like maybe 2 to 3 steps were so that people can kind of think about like that huge problem, which is I just don't feel well, because that's a foggy thought for people.
Yeah.
Right. Like everybody feels that from time to time. And I even look at my Whoop and I'm like, well, 55% today, like that's not great. I didn't sleep well. I don't feel well today. Is it because of sleep? Is it because of what I ate yesterday? Is it because of something in my environment that I'm using? The soap, the aluminum deodorant, the whatever else, So Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think it can be overwhelming. I think the number one most impactful thing that you can do is focus on what you eat. For a while, it's really funny because I didn't believe in the non-toxic stuff for a long time because I'm like, I can't see it. Like, what's wrong with my Dove body wash? I can't see how it's actually, 60% plus of what you put on your skin is absorbed into your bloodstream. So it's almost like you're eating that body wash or that deodorant or that bronzer, the chemicals in it. But you can't see it and it's not as obvious. And I think over time, I always think like it's never one thing that gives you cancer. It's like chronic exposure to toxins. It's chronic stress. It's, an inflammatory diet. It's processed foods. It's too much alcohol. So don't try and be perfect. I think, if you try and do everything at once, you're just going to get really overwhelmed and quit. I think that the most impactful thing that you can do is start with food and then start educating yourself on just how important it is to shift to like non-toxic living and follow. There's so many resources on Instagram and in my Substack. I'll create clean swaps. So it's like, you can't give up your Old Spice deodorant. Here's one that works just as well and smells good too. But you don't have to like dig into all the science of like Googling every ingredient on a body wash. There's resources out there for you, like make it easy for yourself. I would say the first thing is start with what's on the end of your fork. For me, there's so much noise in the wellness space. There are so many different diets that people push. It's broccoli's bad for your thyroid and, too much tuna has too much mercury in it. And you don't want too many carbs, that you need to have some carbs.
It's overwhelming.
Lose the noise. 100%. I think it makes you frustrated, overwhelmed, and it will make you quit. My principle is eat what comes from the earth and skip what comes from a lab. So if you go to the grocery store and you look at a blueberry, an almond, a piece of chicken, a sweet potato, eat it. It's good for you. I don't care if it has carbs. Carbs are amazing. Protein's amazing. Fat is amazing. You need fiber. All of these macronutrients and micronutrients our body needs. But if you get lost in the noise of like, I have to hit my body weight in protein and I can't have any carbs and broccoli could be bad for my thyroid, you lose the plot. Like you're going to notice such a substantial shift in your health and how you feel on a daily basis if you just eat real whole foods. And the guiding principle that I use to eat real whole foods is As I said before, if it's like a single ingredient, like an almond, there's no ingredient list. Amazing, eat it. It's good for you. Unless, of course, you have a condition and your doctor tells you otherwise. And then if it's a packaged food, there's so much noise. There's like healthy prebiotic soda. There's high protein cookies. Of course, we're going to have some packaged foods. My rule of thumb is if the product has a PR team or really strong front package marketing, like high protein or low carb or all natural, organic, don't listen to it. Like ignore. The better the marketing, usually the worse the product. So flip it over, read the ingredient list. If you can go grocery shopping for every item in that product, or if you would eat every item in that product on its own, it's good. It's like a whole food based packaged food. But if it's like Xanax gum or some artificial flavors, like a code word for 100 chemicals, you're not going to go eat those or cook with them. Skip the product. Right. So I think it just needs to be simple. Eat real whole foods and you will feel a substantial impact.
Now, do you tell people like when you're coaching somebody? Right?
Yeah.
So how do you audit what they're currently eating in order to change their future habits? Do you have them like track what they eat for a few days? What does that look like?
Yeah. I would focus. I mean, the whole thing is I think it can feel really overwhelming. And I also think food can be really emotional. Like for me, I definitely was high stress. I would overeat. I'd eat too quickly. There's like an emotional root to most eating behaviors. Mm-hmm. So I think like just slowing down and being aware. So if you are reaching for Oreos every night, first like notice if you're reaching for dessert every night, like where is that coming from? Am I trying to avoid something?
Right.
And then we're not going to rip the cookies out. Like it's still enjoy that with awareness, but can we find a better option? So my whole thesis is like, there's a substitute, a better for you substitute, whether you can make it at home or buy it for almost everything. So for an Oreo, the Simple Mills cashew cream cookies, like honestly, they taste great. They're like the same. They look the same. They feel the same. Just swap it. And now you're not putting in the toxins and you have a whole food based option. The way that I like to teach and coach this and work with people is how can we just make these microscopic swaps, tweaks, and changes where we keep your budget the same, we keep your preferences the same, we keep like the creature comforts the same, but we swap them to better for you options. And over time, you notice such a difference, you might not even be reaching for the cookie at night.
What do you tell people? So for instance, like I'm busy, I sometimes forget to prepare a meal. Often I'll forget to bring a lunch or I'll forget to, or I just want to I want something quick, right? I know not to eat fast food. Like I won't stop at Five Guys usually on the way home, right? But I go out to eat a lot, and there's prepared food around me all the time. So what do you suggest to like when you're going out to a restaurant, like what are some of the quick swaps that you'll suggest people who are like on the go or just like really busy or too busy to, to eat like a meal plan or something like that? Yeah.
I think it's first about going in with education and awareness, like that your goal is whole foods. It's not keto, it's not paleo. Again, there's medicinal purposes for all these diets, but just like your guiding principle is whole foods. So if you walk in to a restaurant and you look at the menu and there's salmon or steak, or you focus on a protein, surrounded on a protein, and then if it comes with like fries and a veggie, you can say, hey, can I get double veggie? Or can I get roasted potatoes instead of fries? Just ask. I think a huge one is when you're ordering out at lunch and you get like a pre-made salad, what's in the dressing? It's usually full of seed oils, sugars, gums, emulsifiers. Just take off the dressing and ask for olive oil and lemon or olive oil and balsamic vinegar. So look at your options available to you and figure out how you can modify whatever option you have to be more whole food based. Yeah. And if there's a sauce, leave it off. Ask for, extra olive oil or salt or pepper, whatever it may be to season it. Also, Primal Kitchen makes an amazing line of condiments and dressings. So you can have like ranch, Caesar, buffalo sauce, whatever you want, and it is whole food based. So bring your own sometimes. Like I know people who literally bring their like grass-fed A2 milk to Starbucks because Starbucks has no options. But it shouldn't be overwhelming. And if you go out and you want pasta, like that is not going to kill you. But it's what do you do most of the time that is going to add up to really determine how you feel and your health outcomes.
Yeah. And I think especially high performers, right? Like you want to optimize the details.
Right.
And for me, I think about how can I make my life 1% better every day? right? And it's like make at least one little choice that might be better, like not the French fries, the double broccoli, or the salad on the side, even though that kills me inside.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just want those French fries.
100%.
So, I can make, and you think about the motivation tank or the determination tank that starts up here at the beginning of the day, and then it starts to dwindle. Like we all know how easy it is to make a bad decision after you made all good decisions all day long in terms of like food, right?
Right.
So let's talk about, this is a shift, but I think about like aluminum deodorant, right?
Yeah.
And how bad of a rap it's gotten. I've personally tried the natural stuff and I smell after like 4 hours, like the Everyday Jack or whatever it's called, like,
yeah,
or the deodorant without aluminum. Like I stink after like 4 hours. Doesn't do anything for me. So like, what are some alternatives that like I'm not going to smell, but are also not going to give me cancer?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I know. And that's when I say, like, I think the non-toxic stuff, maybe it's obviously an area that I focus on, but I am not like a chemist. So I don't know the, background of every single ingredient.
Yeah.
And in my health journey, what has been really helpful for me is finding people as I build my education and awareness on what products are good and what aren't, is to follow trusted people. So like simplify it for yourself by doing some research. There's some amazing people on Instagram. Like I obviously have the resources on my blog as well, where we've tried and tested the products. We've looked up the ingredients. We know what's in it. We know what's going to be better for you. And we know that they actually work. So I think if you try and do it all yourself by researching everything in every deodorant and testing 5, you're going to be like, screw it, I'm just using the old stuff. But if you find somebody who, I don't know, whether it's like a Mark Hyman or a health and wellness blogger that you really trust, that they're offering you safe products that they've tried, tested, and they work, that's the best option. Personally, I like Primely Pure. I think they have a great line.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about is just like the scents too, right?
Yeah.
So like, the Glade plugins, I guess, cause cancer.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. Like I grew up like those things are plugged in all around the house, right?
There's swaps for those. Secret scent. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so it's just like some of those swaps, and for people who are listening, you can find them on Annie's Substack or her, basically your website.
Yep.
But I think like if you can curate like a quick list of like swaps,
100.
I'm sure you have it. That'd be easy for our listeners to see, because and I've even had like staff in the past be like, oh man, like we got to swap these out for like oil, what is it? The scented oils or the, I don't know. And I just don't think about those things because my mind map is just busy, right? I think like most people are, you're just like, you're focused on like getting my kids dressed, getting them out to school. Like, what am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to do during the day for work? Like, what are my meetings today? Like, you're not thinking about what deodorant you're putting on or what you're putting on your face or what body lotion you're using or what soap you're using, but all that matters.
I think,
and how you're managing your stress.
Right.
So how do you manage your stress?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've gotten very into, it's funny. I've been in and out of meditation for years, and I know I have a very type A, fast, very analytical mind. I move very quickly. Sitting still, I hate. I have known the science of meditation. That is one of the best things that you can do for your health. And I've been in and out of it for like 6 years, just knowing how good it is for me. And it is like the last thing I want to do is sit still. But it's funny that you say that, because over the past 2 months, I have gotten into this practice of journal speak. Nicole Sachs wrote an amazing book called Mind Your Body. And her whole principle is that a lot of chronic disease and anxiety is rooted in emotional suppression. So like we have to feel our feelings. And I know that is very true. I think nervous system dysregulation and chronic stress really is such a contributor to so many reasons that we don't feel good. So I've gotten in this practice of journal speak every morning, where you just take either a notebook or a page on your computer and you write whatever is on your mind, totally unfiltered, for like 10 to 20 minutes, no judgment, like just let your stream of conscious flow. And then you rip it up at the end and throw it away. And it's like an emotional detox. And I am addicted to it to the point where I like wake up excited for that in my coffee. So I swear to God, if you just like stick to something for a week, you will get in a practice of it. But I do that and it helps tremendously. And then I will sit and I do meditation. I like an active meditation. I have a hard time sitting still. So the way I like to do it is like breathe, feel your body. Where are you holding tension? What is stuck? What are you not letting go of? Like, just how do you feel? I think so often we move through our days and we have no idea that our chest is tight or that we're like holding our breath or bracing our shoulders. So like be aware of your body. sit in it, notice what you need to notice. And then I love mantras and I love visualizations. So it's like, what does your dream life look like? What do you want to create for your business? What does a dream relationship look like for you? And like sit in it and embody the energy of it. And it is like the coolest feeling. Gabby Bernstein's an amazing resource on manifestation and meditation, but there are so many forms of it. I think my biggest tip on it is that we have to sit and feel our feelings, or else they will become trapped, stagnant energy and they will come out sideways. So whatever way feels comfortable for you, if it's an active journaling, if it's a active mantra, if it's just like sitting and noticing where your body feels tense and what it's trying to communicate to you through that tension, and then detoxing it through a journal, through speaking, through walking, through exercise. But I think that is like I think that is one of the core principles of long-term health. Like it's probably second to what you put on your fork.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that there's so much power, and it's interesting you say it's going to come out sideways, right? And I think about that. It's like, because you're constantly ruminating. If you don't write it down, it's always there in the back of your head, right? It's not
Totally.
out. One thing that I've done recently, and I forget what prompted me to do it. I think it's probably just a combination of things. Might have been ChatGPT, but every morning I wake up and the first thing I do, I actually turn off my phone before I go to sleep now, because I found myself checking my phone the first, like when I would wake up and I check emails. And I'm like, this is a terrible way to start the day. So I keep a notebook by my bed and I just write, I used to write 3 things that I was grateful for.
I love that.
Now I write 3 positive things that happened to me the day before. So 3 good things that happened to me the day before. And then I write like what I need to do during the day, or what are my top important priorities to get done that day. And often I'll look back like, to the day before and the day before that, and be like, hey, did I actually do that? Did I do them? Or like, did I get distracted with the urgent and not stick with the important?
It's really good.
Which happens all the time, right? Because you're pulled in a million different directions. And the reason that I feel like the gratitude versus the what positive happened to me shift happened is because you start to get like, you're grateful for the same things. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. Having a roof over my head, having a warm bed to sleep in at night, like having food like available to me whenever I need it. Like that's unbelievable. Those are basic human needs that we just take for granted.
Totally.
But I wanted to shift my brain's way of thinking that I'm approaching the world and positive things are coming to me.
Yeah.
Not I'm always looking for the negative, because we're wired to be negative, right? You're wired to protect, like especially as a man, you're a protector. That's the way I really you see your role as a man, and you're constantly on the lookout for like threats, and I need to train my brain to, of course, do that, but then pull the positive too.
Yeah.
So how do you look for the good in life?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think that seeing the negative is usually set in a fear-based mindset of like, there's obviously like we cannot control anything. And I think surrendering to the fact that we cannot control anything is one of the hardest things that we can do. But looking for the negative, being like, this is coming up in a month and I'm really stressed about it. Or like, what if this doesn't go this way? Well, then this, that, and this. It's almost like we're trying to execute a false sense of control over our lives to keep ourselves safe. And like the more security we think we have, the better we feel in the moment. But it's a false sense of security. And it's like the most fear-based sense of security. It's just not true. So I think when we shift our mindset from focusing on the negative to focusing on the positive, like you said, and being like, wow, these things really went well today. Or like, I'm really excited for this instead of I'm really afraid if this happens. Yeah. Then we like move ourselves into a more positive energy. And it's like that in itself is like the act of surrendering. It's saying, yeah, I can't control what's going to happen in a week. I really hope this happens. I'm going to sit in that energy. I'm going to be grateful for it as if it happens. And then you just start acting differently. Like you're lighter, you're less stressed, you're more present in your day to day. You like enjoy things more. Because you're not so worried about the future or like overanalyzing the past. And yeah, I think that is like the act of letting go and surrendering and letting good things come to you. Because I think so often we don't want to focus on the good because we think if we focus on the bad or if we worry, then we're almost like having a hand in how things, shaping how things are going to go. And that's just like never, that's a reality we all need to face. It's not going to happen,
Yeah.
but we can really increase our chances of good things happening if we focus on the good. But it's hard. And I like that because it's more active. And you're right. Every morning I'm like, my health, my family, my friends.
Yeah.
But if you focus on like, I'm really happy this happened today, or I'm so excited for this tomorrow, it is a form of gratitude.
Yeah. And I think it's just a little bit, it's a step more intentional.
Yeah.
You know, but it's funny. I want to talk about what you just described, Annie, because really, you know, I look at fear and then I look at faith, right? And I feel like faith is the exact opposite of fear, right? Faith is that surrender, right? It's the hope that good things are going to happen, and sort of like knowing deep in your heart that good things are going to happen, versus fear, which is like you're trying to control the uncontrollables. Because what do you fear? Usually you fear the one or two things that you can't control, because you can't control it. And that's I feel like at the root of a lot of, you know, mental disease and and frustration, anxiety, you know. But the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I kept thinking about this when we were talking about fear, right, is I don't know where I heard this, but the most common 3 words in I think the Bible and scripture are do not fear. Isn't that incredible? I think it was like Billionaire's Advice or something that I was watching on an entrepreneur podcast, but it said, do not fear was the most commonly repeated phrase, like basically in human history. Yeah. So, and I think about how that applies to really think about like venture capital, think about entrepreneurship, think about just your life and people live life in fear. Most people live life in fear. What if I, you know, lose my job? What if this happens? What if that happens? And anyways, I just think that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice, Annie, you would give your younger self?
Exactly this. To let go. To let go. I think a lot, you know, of course we never know the exact thing that like created my autoimmune disease or threw my hormones so out of whack or created the skin issues. I do believe so much of it was rooted in this gripping, this clenching, this like so trying to control the uncontrollable and being so driven by fear. I think when I was a lot younger, I really defined my self-worth by my successes, by like going to a really good college and graduating with really good grades and being in a prestigious career. And I was like, the more I do, the harder I do, the more I differentiate myself, that will equate to a higher level of safety in my life and like make all of the things that I'm afraid of maybe less likely to happen.
Yeah.
And the byproduct of that is, one, I was totally dissociated from myself because I was doing things out of fear, not out of love. And I think for every action, every word, every thought, it's like, what is this being driven by? Is this being driven by fear or love? And I think that I got really off track because so much for me was driven in fear. And I think that if you take actions that aren't aligned or you take actions that are fear-based, they shift you out of alignment. You end up in like situations or around people or living somewhere or in a relationship or just in environments that honestly like don't serve your true self. Mm-hmm. And that creates chronic stress. And I think the root of the things that I was struggling with were driven by stress. And you can look at it really like tangibly, like I'm really stressed. I'm going to eat really quickly. That's going to be really bad for my gut. I'm going to like, you know, opt to eat more sugar. I'm probably going to drink more caffeine than usual. I might be over exercising or under exercising or drinking too much alcohol or, I don't know, for some people it's smoking or vaping. You know, when you feel emotional stress, you're usually trying to escape it by behavior. So like some people are like, I don't really understand how emotion creates or how suppressed emotion creates disease, but you can look at it like if you're really stressed, you're usually doing things that aren't amazing. You're not sleeping great. So I think the root of a lot of my health stuff was stress and fear-based and trying to control things. So if I were to tell my younger self anything, it would like be exactly who you are and trust that what feels right to you, the college you want to go to, the career you're driven by, the business idea that you have that you feel like is stupid if you explore, just do it and follow your intuition and stay in alignment with yourself. And your health is going to be better and you're going to be way happier.
You know, I don't feel like you're giving yourself enough credit though, because I think that it's, you know, it's so difficult like growing up and wanting to be successful. And like what you're told as a kid is like, you know, get good grades, go to a good school, right, get a good job, right? Mm-hmm. And then like have a family. I don't know. Like, yeah. You know. And I think that what we try to do, especially in your 20s, like you just try to make the best decisions with the information that you have,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, well, I feel like I should be doing this. Like you went to Cornell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome school. Like, you know, and I'm sure you got a great education, right? And I think now you're probably looking back at that and saying like, wow, I did get a great education.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
and I think everything happens, you hate to say it, but like, you know, everything happens, in my opinion, for a reason. And I think when it happens, the difference is, are you able to reflect on it and see what the good from it was and potentially the bad? Maybe it was a bad decision or a good decision, like what came of it, and then change, right? Don't get stuck. I think that's the hardest, you know, that's the hardest part of like your 20s, like not getting stuck and ruminating and repeating the same mistake.
Because everything is a lesson.
Yeah.
Everything is a lesson.
Yeah.
And for me, I look back and I wouldn't change a thing. Like I am so glad that, you know, I ran high stress for a few years. I'm obviously so grateful for my education, my experience in investing. I would have never started a business if I wasn't in venture capital watching other people build businesses for 6 years. Yeah. But I think that the key is someone told me this once. They were like, if you feel like you made mistakes in your life, you didn't behave your best, or you acted out of alignment with who you were, or whatever it may be, you handled that situation and made those decisions with the best resources that you had at the time. And the only thing that you can do is learn from it and move on. Is say, I see it differently now. I've grown. I took something like an immense lesson out of this and I'm going to move forward with it. And and that's the same thing going forward. It's like, if you're afraid of something happening, it's like, well, when that happens, I trust that I will have the tools to deal with it at the time. But until then, I don't have the tools, so I don't need to worry about it.
Right. But life is just building those tools. Like think about where you are today.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have the chronic health problems, you're not starting this business. We're not sitting here together.
Exactly.
You know, so everything kind of cascades and that's cool. That's a good piece. That's really good. And I think it's also fine to mention that like your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 26.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you're not even
you're
full
later than that.
Well,
yeah.
Probably. I don't know if mine's still fully developed, but we'll see. But closer, rapid fire.
Let's do it.
All right. Favorite comfort food?
Chocolate chip cookies. Levain.
Do you like the fresh made, or you like, Levain, the bakery?
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. What's one thing that you do in your like daily or weekly routine that recharges you?
I would say meditation and walking.
Is there an app or anything that you use for meditation, or you just kind of set a timer and go?
No, as I mentioned earlier, I've been loving Gabby Bernstein's meditation, but I love Insight Timer as well. It's free and there's so many guided meditations on there.
Nice.
Yeah.
A book or a podcast that has changed your mindset recently?
Book would be Mind Your Body by Nicole Sachs. And then I would also say Return to Love is just return to love and you can heal your life. I read probably once or twice a year every year. Yeah, really? They're amazing.
That's cool. And then where can listeners go to connect with you and follow your journey?
Yeah. Most of my content is on Substack. So it's Let's Feel Good on Substack. And then I also have an Instagram, and I'm actually starting a podcast too. I'm recording them now. So that will be out in a month or so.
Awesome. And then I always like, what are the next steps for Annie Ripp? What's the future hold?
Yeah. My goal is I want to empower people to not get caught up in the noise of wellness and all of the products, all of the expenses, but just figure out like, I always say like, how do you live a typical Tuesday? And how can we go in and keep your routines, keep your comfort, keep your budget and preferences, but make these very, very small edit swaps and changes, whether it's swapping your deodorant or how you order out or how you grocery shop or what you do in the morning and the toothpaste you use to brush your teeth, that will add up to make you feel your best today. And then the byproduct is set yourself up for a lifetime of vibrant health. So my goal is just to help people on that mission and simplify it. I think, as we were saying, like the non-toxic world is like, is this bad? Is this good? Let's just like simplify it. Find things that work, find things that taste just as delicious. Yeah. And pull in more things that make us feel our best. And my goal is just to empower people to do that.
That's great. And you obviously take patient or clients one-on-one.
I do. Yeah, I do. So I am not a nutritionist. I have a certification functional nutrition, but my work is called lifestyle implementation coaching. So I will help you by asking you like granularly, what are your goals? Where do you just not feel good? That's my tagline on everything.
Yeah.
And then look at your daily routines, look at your habits, and work with you to kind of edit your day-to-day life in a way that feels really manageable, sustainable, and motivating to shift yourself out of not feeling good and into feeling great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to work with Annie, I'll put her contact information in the show notes. And thanks again, Annie, for coming on today. And you've been a great guest. And thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. This was a blast.